Seattle's a very expensive city to live in. Surviving as a lumber yard in an urban core is not something that is doable by most businesses. The city of Seattle, most of it was developed in the 1700s through the 1900s. The areas where the density is and where our yards are located. So those homes are between 110 to 60, 70 years old, somewhere in that gap. They all need renovation and remodeling. So that's really what our core customer base is remodeling 100-plus-year-old homes. Dunn Lumber's been around since 1907. Started in Rhinelander, Wisconsin in about 1911. That moved to Seattle because the Midwest, most of those timber stands had been harvested. So Albert Dunn moved the company here to move to where the timber was. So we're a lumber yard with a hardware store attached, as opposed to a hardware store that sells lumber. Our goals are to be able to provide a very high level of service and a very high quality of product. So the quality of the lumber we sell, the quality of the hardware that we try to provide to the customer are all intended to make those transactions and the satisfaction as easy as possible. So quality is sort of our number one concern. Space is extremely challenging here. It's a very developed city. My stores are average 10,000 square foot hardware stores. For me to buy additional real estate, this is not possible. So what I needed to try to find was a way to be able to utilize the space I had already. The BMF system allowed me to basically generate square footage on the square footage I already had by allowing for an overstock system. So by putting in the BMF system, I added 3,500 square feet of overstock space and didn't have to buy any property to get it done. So I could never hold this much inventory before. So I was bringing this stuff, I was having to consume warehouse space, I was having to consume space out where my yard foreman wants to have control of the space to be able to hold my boxes. Now they're up here, and we're able to hide behind here all my unsightly backstock. Now it's right here, I can keep full cases here, my customer can serve themselves. That also saves me labor dollars. Every time I don't have to have a yard call and my customer can get that thing for themselves, I'm saving labor. This is another nice rack for the spray paint cans. It self-feeds. One of my store managers, when we put this into his system, he says, "Hey, I just got a new employee. It's called Gravity." These feature ends, which actually help explain electrical on this one and explain plumbing on this one, have been a big boon for my employees because they allow them to walk back to a space and they're trying to explain a plumbing detail or a wiring detail to a customer, and they don't have to use just words anymore. They can come over and just point. With our old setup, we would have customers come in and they would literally say, "This looks like a grocery store," or "It looks like a drugstore." After we did the BMF yards, they said, "Oh, I feel like I'm in a lumber yard or a hardware store now." So it made our customers feel like they were in a store that was more like the business that they were doing. Working with BMF was fantastic. We're a fairly particular company, so we asked things of them that were not normal. I would say that we've sort of learned from each other in this process. So there's some ideas that they came to the table with, and we're like, "We don't like that idea." And they said, "Why don't you try it?" And they were actually right. They had some ideas that worked. But we're very good at knowing how to handle lumber, and there were some of their lumber merchandising solutions that we felt were inferior, and we're on our fourth store now, and we've actually worked with them to design some components that they have manufactured are now part of our sets that they now keep in their inventory. Customers actually are really impressed. They think we've added a ton of inventory, which we actually haven't. Most of that stuff was already here, but it is merchandised and displayed in a way that has really impacted the customer perception of what it is we have. So it's been beneficial, it's been profitable. Every yard that we have done has seen double-digit growth over our standard growth at the non-BMF stores. I think what it is based on is having enough inventory to be able to meet the customer's demand every time they walk in the store. Some people focus on their bottom line or their profit dollars, and we pay attention to those things, but our focus is on our customers and our service and on doing things right. That's what allows us to be successful over time. I think it's fairly easy to be successful in the short term, but to be successful over time is extremely relationship driven. That's our focus. We have a very nice relationship with BMF, and that's really the driver of our success.